Welcome back. After. The next few days and weeks had the Candace of a waking nightmare, and afterwards Hannah could only remember that time in jolting, disordered snatches. First the running feet, the porters and the college staff pushing her aside to climb to the stairs, Hugh standing in the hallway saying in a cracked and desperate voice, "No one should touch her until the police get here. Please, no one should touch anything in the room." Then the sounds of sirens, uniformed police taping off the landing, the blue lights of the masked squad cars reflecting back from the building opposite on Pelham Street and flickering off the still black waters of the river. Hannah was interviewed by the police until the small hours when she was given a parcel of her own belongings and allowed to go to bed in a strange room in Old Quad. The next day she was interviewed again and then moved to a different room in Cloisters with better sound isolation because her sobs the night before had kept her neighbors awake. Her parents arrived and she cried in her mother's arm and moved rooms again, this time to sleep on a pull-out sofa in her mother's hotel room. The college closed for the summer break, but Hannah was not allowed to leave Oxford, and neither was Hugh. Emily, Ryan, and Will were interviewed, but then told they were free to return home. None of them were suspects. Really? Emily and Will wasn't suspects? Ryan had spent the whole night in the bar with multiple witnesses, including Hannah and Hugh. Will had been away from college at home in Somerset until Sunday morning. Emily had been in a college library all evening. An examination of her swipe card showed she hadn't left until after 11 p.m. when she, along with a few other students still studying, had come out to see what was going on, while the police were hurrying across the forbidden lawns to New Quad. Wait a second. Emily texted to say that she was at work. All of a sudden, she in the library now? Hannah and Hugh were different. They weren't suspects, but they were witnesses. They had discovered April's body, and Hannah had reported the prime suspect to the college authorities just days before April's death. Lying awake at night beside her sleeping mother, trying to reconstruct what had happened, what she could have done differently, what she might have missed, Hannah came to think of her existence as divided into two sharp halves, before and after. Before everything was fine, after everything was broken. Hannah saw April's parents only once. She was leaving the police station after giving yet another statement, and a tall blonde woman with enormous sunglasses, accompanied by a man in a gray suit straining across his gut, walked past her, their faces stony and grim. She was never quite sure what made her do it, perhaps something about the shape of the woman's mouth and chin, but she pulled out her phone and Googled April Clark Cliverden's parents, and there they were. April's mother, Jade Ryder Cliverden, and her father, Arnold Clark, former city banker turned private equity investor. There were older shots, pictures of Mr. Clark climbing into the taxi, waving with a broad, self-satisfied smile, or shaking hands after a successful business deal, photos of Mrs. Clark Cliverden entering a spa, or leaving Harold, shooting daggers at the photographer. But the one that held Hannah's attention was the most recent, one plainly taken after news of April's death had been broken. Their faces stared out at her from the search page, snapped by some opportunist paparazzi as they hurried into a waiting car. They looked like people in a waking nightmare, and she knew how they felt, for she was trapped in the same bad dream. Part of her wanted to hurry after them, tell them how sorry she was, ask if they were okay. Thought that was clearly stupid, for how could they be okay? Their child was dead, the worst thing that could happen to any parent. But she could not do it. She stood, paralyzed, watching them until the doors of the police station closed after them and they disappeared. Now, more than a decade later, Hannah wonders. She wonders what happened to Mr. and Mr. Clark Cliverden. She wonders how April's mother, that fragile fuck-up April talked about so dismissively, had coped with the death of her child. She wonders if April's father was as strong and as self-centered as April had believed. Had he picked himself up and carried on, making money running his businesses? or had his world fallen apart? As Hugh walks her to the bus stop, waves her goodbye, and she turns her head to watch him, standing there under the streetlight with the rain pattered around him, she wonders. After. Hannah is still wondering when she wakes the next day. She lies there under the warm covers next to Will, thinking about April and about her parents, and about the conversation with Hugh last night. It is Saturday, Will's day off, but not hers, and she is getting quietly out of bed, trying not to wake him when he rolls over. Morning. She stops, turns back, hugging her dressing gown around herself. It is cold outside, the covers, and the first snap of winter in the air. Morning. She feels a little uncertain, their recent row still hanging in the air. Sorry, I was trying to be quiet. It's okay. He sits up, rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. What time did you get home last night? Not that late, about 10, but you were asleep. I didn't want to wake you. There's a minute's silence, and then he says, I'm sorry I was such a dick. At the same time that she says, Do you want to know what Hugh and I talked about? They both laughed, a little shakily, and Will gives a little rueful smile. Honestly, not really. She nods. He doesn't want to dig up painful memories, and she understands that. It's how she felt for more than 10 years. But the fact is that Neville's death had jolted her into feeling differently, even if she can't fully explain why. Look, I have to get up, she says now, glancing at her phone. But let's make a plan for tomorrow. Something fun. A walk maybe? Arthur's Seat? Sure, Will says. He smiles and she understands that he's trying to make it up, repair the hurt they caused each other. I love you. I love you too. On the bus to work, she checks her emails. There's one confirming delivery of a maternity bra and some leggings she brought online. Another from her and Will's favorite restaurant offering them a coupon valid through November. Then there's an email from her mom. Subject line, weekend of 12/13. Han, lovely to talk to you the other day. Quick question, how would the weekend of the 12th of 13 be for a flying visit? I've got those clothes I was talking to you about, and you might as well have them before you have to buy new. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Mom. Hannah suppresses a smile and is about to tap back a quick response when a new email alert flashes up on her phone and the sender ID makes her stomach flip. It's from Durant Williams. And the subject line says, update. Ignoring her mother's message, she opens up Durant's, feeling the baby inside her give a little shuddering jolt as she does. Her nerves are affecting them both. Dear Hannah, hope you are well and that our conversation the other day didn't stir up too much difficult memories. I'm sorry to email you again, but you did ask me to let you know if I found out anything I felt you should know. And, well, I found something. Someone, in fact. November Rain. I think you should meet her as she has some information about the autopsy results that could be important. I'm nervous about putting too much in writing, and I think it would be better for you to hear it from the horse's mouth anyway, as you may have questions. I know this is short notice, but I wonder if you can make today. The reason is November is London-based, but happens to be in Edinburgh at the moment for work. However, she is flying back this evening. So this is probably your last chance to meet face-to-face for a few weeks. Please let me know. I'm also in Edinburgh all day today and could make any time. November is working, but tells me she can make space for a meeting anytime before 5 p.m. when she leaves for her flight. Please let me know. Durant. Fuck. Hannah closes down the phone and stares off into the middle distance, chewing her nails furiously. Fuck. Jarrett probably doesn't know what he's asking. He would assume she has Saturdays off like everyone else, and yet a chance to find out what happened at the inquest, a chance to discover whether April really was pregnant, maybe even who the father was. Who is this November? Is she a pathologist? Hannah certainly can't Google. The name sounds completely improbable, more like a drag queen than a forensic expert, although she supposes even a pathologist can have Axl Rose fans for parents. Even so, Dr. Rain would seem more appropriate for a professional contact. November sounds like a friend or a colleague. Maybe it's another journalist. The thought makes her uneasy. Is she being lured into an interview she doesn't want to give? Hi, Durant, she writes back, then stops, pondering her next move. I am actually working today. Could you tell me a little bit more about this? Is there a reason you can't explain over the phone? Hannah. There's a pause, and she's just about to return to her mother's email when a reply pops in her inbox. Sorry, Hannah, I totally understand, but I don't actually have all the information myself. It's sort of sensitive. Plus, I think November really wants to meet you and explain in person. Understandably. Hannah shuts her eyes, feeling a mix of frustration and annoyance, but there's not much she can do short of refuse to meet this person, and there's no denying it. She does want to find out about the autopsy report. If April really was pregnant, this could change everything. At last, she opens her eyes again and presses reply, trying to squash her irritation. No point in antagonizing Durant before she has even met this mysterious person. Okay, it's a bit tricky to get away, but I could come and meet you in November late morning. It would have to be fairly brief, though. I can't leave my colleague alone in the shop for too long. Where would suit? Somewhere close to the bookshop, if possible. Hannah. There. If things unfold in a way that she doesn't like, she has a cast iron excuse for cutting and running. She will have to clear it with Robin, but late morning is when she usually takes her lunch hour on Saturdays. The shop doesn't get busy until around 12, and they have a Saturday girl called Alice who comes in at 11 and can handle the till. The reply pings back almost before the email has left her outbox. Great. 11:30 okay? November is staying at the Grand Hotel just off the Royal Mile, so perhaps we could meet there. They have a coffee shop in the foyer. Do you know it? Hannah raises an eyebrow. She does indeed know the Grand Hotel. It's easily the most expensive hotel in Edinburgh. Not quite what she had imagined a journalist would choose to work. Durant, for example, looks more like a Holiday Inn type of chap. Still, it's only a 10-minute walk and the coffee is certain to be good. Sure, she types back. I'll see you there. Okay. Hold on 1 minute, y'all. I gotta bring this down just a tad bit. Okay, there we go. When she arrives at the shop, Robin is already there. She opens up on Saturday as it's Hannah's night to stay late. And when Hannah explains that she'd like to take an early lunch to have coffee with a friend, she nods, breezily unconcerned. Yeah, sure, no problems at all. Alice will be in by then, so we can easily hold the fort. Take your time. It's raining hard and a miserable day, in fact, so trade is slow, and at 11:20, Hannah grabs her coat and her umbrella from the staff room and tells Robin and Alice she won't be long. The rain increases as she hurries towards the lawn market, and she arrives at the Grand Hotel looking like a drowned rat. Under the gilt-edged canopy, she stands, shivering for a moment and shaking off her umbrella as the doorman holds the huge, shiny black door open for her, and for an instant, she has a sharp flashback to the night at the private members club in Oxford. The kindly old doorman offering to call her a taxi on April's father's dime. She shuts her eyes. She can't think about this right now. She's already regretting turning up for this without probing Durant further. If she walks in with her head full of Oxford memory and grief. Can I take your umbrella, ma'am? The doorman asks, and Hannah shakes her head, knowing she'll end up leaving it. No, thank you. I'd rather hang on to it. Is that okay? Of course. He hands her a plastic sleeve and she slides the umbrella inside. reflecting that even if the umbrella doesn't drip, she certainly will, and enters the hotel. The foyer is vast in marble and gold, like a banquet hall, with an enormous chandelier in the center. A huge staircase winds up to the right, and glancing up, Hannah sees that some kind of photo shoot is taking place. A giant gold umbrella is reflecting light up the stairs where someone is clearly having their picture taken against the sweep of the staircase. "That's great," she hears. "Now lean back against the banister, tilt the chin." The coffee shop is tucked away behind the curve of the staircase, and she makes her way across the expanse of marble, painfully conscious of her dripping mac and rat's tail hair. As she rounds the edge of the stairs, she sees Durant sitting at a little Bristol table, tapping at his phone. He stands, his face lighting up as he sees her. "Hannah, thanks for coming. Can I get you a coffee?" Hannah pauses. Her instinct is to accept nothing from Durant, but on the other hand, he's the one who invited her, and more importantly, if he pays, she won't be held up waiting for the bill if she wants to make a quick getaway. "Sure," she says at last. A decaf cappuccino and maybe a biscotti if they have any." She's feeling a little lightheaded, low blood sugar probably. The midwife at her last appointment told her it could happen and advised small, frequent snacks. "November's just texted me," Durant said. She'll only be 5. They're just wrapping up." "Right, let me get the drinks. I'll be back in a sec." He walks up to the counter and Hannah sits there chewing her nail and wondering why she did this. Durant is just returning from the counter with an enormous green juice and a biscotti when he turns and looks at someone over Hannah's shoulders. "Ah, perfect. We're all here," he said happily. "Hannah, this is November Rain. November, this is Hannah. Hannah Jones, you would have known her as." Hannah stands up, turns, then her stomach seems to fall away from her. Standing in front of her, willily, inexpressibly beautiful, and most undeniably, unbelievably alive is April. Get out of here. No, I'm not having that. Not having it. It better not be April. April better be a twin. That's all I know. She better be a twin. Let's see. After. For a moment, Hannah thinks she's going to faint. Everything goes very far away, and there is roaring sounds in her ears. She holds onto the edge of the table with both hands, trying to steady herself, trying to tell herself this cannot be. "Hannah?" she hears Durant saying worriedly. "Hannah, are you okay?" "Hi," the girl says. She comes towards them, shoving her mobile into the pocket of her silk harem pants. Her Louis Vuittons click as she walks across the marble. She holds out her hands towards Hannah. "Hi, I'm November. Really pleased to meet you." And then something snaps into place. Hannah isn't sure whether it's the sound of the girl's voice, which is very like April's, but not April's, or something in her eyes. There is no mistaking that expression. The girl coming towards her does not recognize Hannah, and even April, a superb actress though she was, could not have faked that. Who are you?" Hannah says, and her voice is harsher than she intended. It comes out as a kind of hoarse accusation. "Oh God," Durant said, as if he understands only now what he has done. "I'm so sorry. I should have said, I thought you knew. November is April's sister." They playing with Hannah's emotions. Hannah blinks, and then, very slowly, she sits down. The girl November sits opposite her, and she smiles a soft, sad smile that's so like April's, it catches at Hannah's heart. But she doesn't have April's dimple, and for some reason, Hannah finds that obscurely comforting. Concrete evidence that these are not the same people. Okay, because I was hearing it say. Up close, she can see that the girl is also much too young to be April. She is closer to the April Hannah remembers than April as she would be now if she had lived. The girl can't be more than 22 or 23. I'm sorry we never met, November is saying. I heard about you, of course, from April. I kept begging to come and stay in Oxford, but I was just her little snot-nosed baby sister at the time. And then afterwards, I think my parents wanted to protect me from all the coverage. I was never allowed in court or anything. I can understand why, to be honest. I was only 11 or 12 at the time. I'm sorry, too, Hannah says. She is still trying to make sense of this. April's sister, after all these years. And what was it Durant had called her in his introduction? November Rain? I'm sorry, did Durant said your surname was Rain? Did you change it? Oh, November gives a slightly self-conscious laugh and brushes her short white blonde hair out of her eyes. She is wearing long feather earrings, Hannah sees, the tips brushing her tan bare shoulder. Sort of. Rain is my professional name. I suppose you called it. I'm an Instagram influencer, but Clark Cleverdon as a surname, aside from sounding a bit posh, it's got all that, history. Rain, I suppose, it was just a bit of a joke. The song, and somehow it seems to make the November part stands out less. Of course. Suddenly, Hannah understands the photo shoot, the hotel, November effortless made-up beauty. Out of context, the name hadn't clicked, but even Hannah, who rarely goes on Instagram except to torture herself with memories of April, has heard of beauty influencer November Rain. I've been in Edinburgh all week doing a shoot for D&G, and well, it just seemed like serendipity. When Durant messaged me on Insta and said you lived here and would I have time to meet, she shrugs. A waiter arrives with Durant's and Hannah's cappuccino, and there's a brief pause as they sort out the drinks and Hannah refuses sugar. When the waiter is gone, Hannah takes a deep breath. There is so much she wants to ask November, so much she wants to discuss, but she has to cut to the chase here. She doesn't have much time. November, I'm sorry to ask this so abruptly, but I've only got a short lunch hour. I have to get back to work pretty soon. Durant said that you knew something about the autopsy? November nods. Yes, I mean, not everything. Obviously, no one was going to tell a 12-year-old girl the grisly details, but they couldn't stop me listening at doors and so on. There was a lot of stuff that didn't come out in court, the drugs, the pregnancy. Hannah catches her breath at that. So it's true. How, oh my God. She lets out a shaken breath. I'm sorry, this is a lot. So she definitely was pregnant? Or had been very recently, November says. I was never quite sure which. Whichever it was, there were enough hormones for them to trip a blood test. And I think they tried to do a DNA match to determine a father, but I'm not sure if they ever pinned it down. I don't know if they just didn't swab enough people or if they couldn't get enough DNA from April to get a good profile. Hannah shuts her eyes. Suddenly, it all makes sense. She remembers the police coming around, swabbing her, Will, Ryan, and all the others, eliminating DNA, they called it, along with the fingerprints. At the time, Hannah had assumed it was simply to rule out all the people who had been in April's room for innocent reasons. Now she wonders if there was more to it than that, with the boys at least. So it wasn't, her voice is croaky, and she is not sure she can bear to say it, but she has to. It wasn't Will's? November shakes her head sympathetically, but her eyes are sad. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't think so. Or I think we would have heard, but I just don't know for certain. You could probably go to the police and ask. I don't know if they would tell you though. But now it's Hannah's turn to shake her head. She knows she won't do that. Not just because the police are unlikely to hand out confidential information on a closed case, not just because of what it might unleash if she admitted her fears, admitted that all these years later she is becoming more and more uncertain of whether she pointed the finger at the right man, but because she is afraid of what she might find out. What about your parents? She asks now. Would they know? I doubt it, November says. My father died. Did you know that? I didn't, Hannah says. She bites her lip. I'm so sorry. Massive heart attack 2 years ago. He was never really right after April's death, to be honest. She was his firstborn, his golden girl, you know? I don't think he ever got over what happened. And my mother? Well, perhaps April told you. She has problems, even before April died. Her memory isn't reliable at the best of times, and she's done her best to block all this out. I don't think she would agree to talk about it, and even if she did, I don't think you can trust anything she told you. Oh God, November, I'm so sorry, Hannah says. That's so difficult. November gives a little shrug as if to say, what can you do? And the drugs? Hannah asks. You said the autopsy showed up drugs in her system? Did that have something to do with her death? No, I don't think so, November says. She signs. From what I can tell, it was mostly that stuff. What is called? They give it to kids with ADHD. Dex something. I'm not pronouncing that medicine. Dextroamphetamine. Jarrett says quietly, and November nods. That's it. They found a stash of it in her room at home, as well as at college. I don't think there was any suggestion that someone gave it to her covertly or she overdosed. She was taking it deliberately, methodically, and for quite a long time. I'd say she was well aware of the toxicity. An ADHD medication? Hannah is puzzled. But that makes no sense. Why would April be taking that? She didn't have ADHD. It's sometimes used as a study aid. That was the pills that she was going to give her. Durant says, they give it to Air Force pilots in the war to help them concentrate and stay awake. Kids use it to pull all-nighters, study for exams, and so on. But it's not easy to get a hold of. You have to have a prescription because it can be extremely addictive if you're using it recreationally. It's highly controlled. Oh God. Suddenly, so many things click into focus. April's frequent red-eye essays, her seemingly superhuman ability to act all week and then study all night. Hannah remembers her own complaints about her essay. April holding out her hand, 2 pills in a palm. Hannah's puzzles, what are they? Like no dots or something? And the way April laughed and said dryly, no dots for grown-ups. What do they look like? She asked Durant, and he Googled for a moment and then holds out his phone. Hannah's heart sinks. It's them. It's the capsules filled with little bees that April offered her so long ago. I knew she was taking those, she says. I just didn't know what they were. But that doesn't have anything to do with her death, does it? November shakes her head. I don't think so. I assume that's why it never came out at the trial. The pregnancy stuff, though, I'm surprised Neville's defense lawyer never brought it up. I think they thought it was too risky, Durant says. They had a good shot with reasonable doubt. There wasn't anything concrete to tie him to April's death, apart from having been seen coming out of the building around the time she was killed. But he did badly in the witness box. Hannah nods. She remembers hearing about this. First, Neville had denied being in the room at all, had claimed that he had simply been checking something in the building. But halfway through cross-examination, he became flustered and changed his story. Confronted with fingerprints on the inside doorknob, he had abruptly admitted that he had been in the room, but he said that he had simply been bringing up the weekly parcel from Hannah's mom and that April had let him in. He claimed they had a pleasant chat, which Hannah found implausible in itself, and that he had left her alive and well just a few minutes later. That had sealed his fate. But John Neville's account, he had seen April alive at 11 p.m. Hannah and Hugh had discovered her dead body just a few minutes later, and they had a clear view of the interest for the whole time. There had been absolutely no opportunity for anyone else to enter staircase 7. It was Neville or no one. Or was it? Hannah is frowning, trying to puzzle something out when she realized Durant is speaking again. The thing is, being devil's advocate for a moment, he is saying, even if April was pregnant, it's hard to see what that's got to do with the case. It's not Victorian England. No one was going to force anyone into a shotgun marriage. There's the sexual jealousy angle. He shoots Anna an apologetic look, knowing that he is tactically pointing a finger at Will here. Strangulation typically points to a domestic murder, usually a crime of passion. But April's boyfriend was never in the picture. He was away from college the night of the murder. Pregnancy just isn't much of a motive. Well, you say that, November puts in, but there's pregnancy and there's pregnancy. What if someone who couldn't afford to be found sleeping with a student? Someone whose job or marriage might be at stake. You mean a member of a staff? Durant asks. November shrugs and Durant looks intrigued. It's certainly a possibility, he says. Oh my God, Hannah says. Her hands have gone suddenly cold. Oh my God. What? Durant asks and then frowns. Are you all right, Hannah? Hannah shakes her head, but she's not sure if she means I'm not all right or that doesn't matter right now. She knows her face has gone pale, and from Durant's expression, she can tell that she must look as stricken as she feels. Dr. Myers, she whispered, more to herself than to them. Who? November says, Durant frowning. That tutor who lived on your stairwell? Yes. Hannah's heart has started pounding, sickeningly hard. She feels unutterably stupid. She cannot believe this never occurred to her before. Yes, oh my God, he's the one person who could have access to April's room between Neville leaving and me and Hugh arriving. He wouldn't have needed to enter the building. He was already there. But are you saying, Durant frowns and then starts again, he couldn't have gotten April pregnant, surely. He wasn't even her tutor. No, he was mine, but April knew him. She went to a party he threw. He had this reputation. Hannah feels sick. There is a buzzing in her ear. He used to invite students, female students, out for drinks. They were all April's type, very beautiful, very. Suddenly she cannot go on. The ringing in her ears is growing louder. The room is taking on a strange, distant quality. Are you saying he could have been sleeping with her? Durant asks. He looks skeptical, but also strangely hopeful. Hannah feels anything but. I don't know, Hannah manages. Her tongue feels strange and thick in her mouth. Her fingers are freezing. She feels numb all over. Did I get it wrong all along? I don't. The words are not coming. Suddenly, her body feels as if it doesn't belong to her, like her limbs are made of plastic. I don't, she says. Her voice sounds like it's coming from very far away. Hannah, she hears. Hannah, are you okay? Everything disintegrates. and she slides into the dark. And that's the end of that chapter. Well, I already said Dr. Myers could be, did I say he was a suspect? I think I did say that earlier, because he's right across the hall, and it makes sense that he could have done it. I just need to know the time from when John left to the time that Anna saw him leaving. Because I don't know. I know I watch a lot of crime shows, and they say strangulation takes a while. It depends. I don't know. It seemed like it would have to have happened really fast, right? So I guess that's what I need to know. So it was true that April was pregnant, right? But did she get rid of it, or did she have it? No, she didn't have it, because they would have known she was pregnant. Duh. So she must have gotten rid of it. Or, well, they didn't say in the autopsy report if the fetus was still in her when she, was murdered. I still, oh, yeah, back up. When Emily said that she wasn't coming to the play, she had text Hannah that she was sorry work, right? But then it said that she was questioned by the police because she was at the library. And how? She lied to Hannah and said work, but she was at the library? If she lied, why? So she's still my suspect. And did they actually prove that Will was out of town? They just said that he was, right? But did they go further and say, see if that was true? I don't know. So as it stands, for me, it's still Emily, it's Will, and now it's Dr. Myers. And Neville is like, did he or didn't he do it? But we are getting closer. And let me add this. I hope, she seemed like she fainted at the end of this chapter. I hope everything is okay. Really do. But we shall find out. Stay tuned. Bye for now.